Hello my dear health seeker, Inga from Health Origins here, and today you're in for a real treat because I'm going to be making a healthier millionaire shortbread. So let's begin. Since we have 3 layers, I've got 3 clusters of ingredients here. So as you can see, there's no refined sugar in here. I mean, there is dark chocolate, so there is some refined sugar in here, but other than that, we're using dates as the caramel layer. So this is gonna be our base. I'm using almonds, so this is ground almonds, oats, some salt, coconut flour, coconut cream or milk, maple syrup, and then so that's the base, and for the caramel layer we've got 20 medjool dates, we've got some plant milk, we've got vanilla extract, and we've got almond butter. And then for our top layer we've got dark chocolate, and we'll use a little bit of almond butter as well. So let's get started with the base layer. So for this you will need a food processor with an S blade inserted. So I'm gonna add my oats. So this is 1 cup of oats, and you'll see all the ingredients and amounts listed underneath. So I've got 1 cup of oats. I'm gonna put the lid on and I'm gonna blitz it until it becomes a flour for a few seconds. So it took about 20 seconds to blend my oats into a flour. I'm gonna add my ground almonds. So this is 3/4 of a cup of ground almonds. So I've just grounded almonds myself, really. And if you don't have a food processor, you could ground your oats in, let's say, a spice grinder or even a blender, and then combine everything in a bowl as well. So I guess that would work too. Then a secret ingredient, and don't skip this, this is 1/4 of a cup of coconut flour, and that gives this, lightness, gives this crumbly, because obviously millionaire shortbread, the bottom layer needs to be really like shortbread, but because we're not using no butter or anything like that, this gives that nice kind of light texture, because with just oats and the almonds, it would be quite a dense base, but that gives it some lightness and that crumbly texture. Then we need like about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. So about 1/4 of a teaspoon, I would say, just a little bit, just to bring out the sweetness of maple syrup. So I'm gonna just put that on and blend it for a few seconds to combine. Okay, so this is my dry ingredients combined. What I'm gonna do now, I've got a, if you have coconut cream, use 1/2 cup, because normally the brand of coconut milk I used to get, the top was like proper thick and like a cream. Whereas this one is more like liquid, like a milk, so even at the top I could not get the cream off. That was just a liquid, so I'm gonna use a little bit less of that. As you can see, this is not quite 1/2 cup, just so that my dough is not too liquid. And then I'm gonna need 2 tablespoons of maple syrup as well. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put that back on, stop it, and I'm gonna drizzle that coconut milk as it turns through the hole, so it helps incorporate it. It's becoming like a dough, and then I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of maple syrup as well to give it a little bit of sweetness. And continue blending for a little bit. And my dough is kind of rolling a little bit into some kind of balls and going kind of round. That's good sign. It means it's good consistency. So a few more seconds and I think we'll be done. And you don't want to over blend it because then almonds can start getting into almond butter otherwise. So that's it. So I'm going to scoop this out into a base of where we're going to be making the Millionaire Shortbread, and I'm going to show you. And all the while we are making this, I'm also heating chocolate in a bain-marie. So all that is, if you don't know what bain-marie is, I've got it here. So it's basically, I've got a pot with a hot boiling liquid and then a little glass bowl or container at the top, sitting, not touching the water, and that just smells the chocolate. So now I've got my oven proof dish and I'm preheating my oven on 190 Celsius as well, and I'm gonna just put that into the base and kind of form a neat uniform base layer here. So I find that it's easier to do it with the fingers like this because it's quite a sticky dough. And this is 20 by 20 tin. If you want your layer to be thicker, you can put it in a smaller container, or maybe increase the base layer ingredients as well. So I've patted it down as much as I could. Now if you wanted it to be a little bit smoother, you could take like something with a flat bottom and kind of press it down a little bit as well. And make sure you kind of wet it slightly as well, so that it doesn't stick, because it's quite a sticky dough. So just helps it smooth it out a little, so that your layer is a little bit more uniform like this. And now I'm ready to put this in my preheated oven on 190 Celsius for 20 minutes. Now for making the caramel layer, I've got a jug. I've got pitted 20 medjool dates, which I'm gonna add, and 3 tablespoons of soy milk I've got, or any other plant milk would work. And then I'm gonna need a teaspoon of vanilla essence, 1 teaspoon, and then 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I've got some pink Himalayan salt here. So it's kind of like, becomes like a salted caramel. Yeah, and I've got a stick blender, because I prefer doing it with a stick blender, because this is going to be like a very thick paste. You could potentially do it in a blender as well, that would work, but you would probably need to scrape the sides quite a few times. And this is quite a hard, because the medjool dates are not soaked and we haven't got that much liquid, so you kind of just have to be patient with this. It becomes easier as the dates, you know, get a little bit soaked in with the milk and start breaking down. So just work slowly and in sections. You might think that, you know, it's a good idea. Maybe if your dates are very dry, you could pour some boiling water on them for a couple of minutes and then pour it off. That will soften the really hard dates. My medjool dates were quite soft and juicy, so I'm trying not to add too much extra liquid so that our caramel is quite thick, and it's not too thin, because then it's gonna be sliding off our slice. If you're really struggling to blend this, maybe add 1 more tablespoon of soy milk or any other plant-based milk. So my caramel is ready. I think my motor is pretty hot actually on the bar mix, so make sure you don't burn out your blender. Like I said, if it's too hard, too sticky for you, maybe add 1 tablespoon of plant-based milk and it'll be a little bit easier. So that's it. So we'll wait for the base to come out of the oven, and we're going to assemble all 3 layers. So now while I'm still waiting for my base layer to bake, I'm preparing the chocolate. So I've melted it in the bain-marie like I've explained before. Just basically boiling water, and then put some kind of bowl over it so it's not touching and it's just steaming, and then the chocolate melts. So that's melted. So now I need a couple of tablespoons of almond butter so that when the chocolate sets, it doesn't set as hard, and it's kind of like a softer set chocolate. So I'm just gonna mix this fully through, and it'll give a nice nutty taste to the chocolate layer as well. So make sure you incorporate well. Actually, a whisk is a good tool here as well to fully incorporate this. So the base layer has baked now for 20 minutes. I'm gonna add the caramel on top. You can, if you've got time, you can leave it to fully cool down. I've got a press on, but it should be fine. So just basically put all the caramel layer on and even it out as best as you can. So now this is pretty much even, and I'm gonna pour the chocolate layer on as well. And try to distribute it evenly over the top. And the chocolate I'm just using just cheap, dark, ordinary chocolate. Baking chocolate would work as well. It needs to be sweet chocolate though, because we're not adding any extra sweetener to this. So yeah, just try and level out as much as you can. And then you can even shake it at the end to just even out all the the marks there, so it's nice and even now. And you leave this in the fridge either overnight or for a couple of hours, or I need it much quicker than this, so I'm gonna put it in the freezer for maybe about half an hour. So this is the result. So now all that's left to do, now it's hard, gonna cut it up. In fact, you probably don't want to leave it to harden too much, because it's a little bit harder than to cut it. So maybe you just chill it a little bit, then you can cut it and then chill it fully. So mine has hardened fully now, so I'm gonna try and do my best to cut them into little squares. So that's them all cut up, and all that's left now to do is to taste test. So we've got a couple of taste testers this time.
Yeah. Well, the Millionaire Shortbread. Do you want to take that bit, Erin?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Choose your piece.
It's always my favourite part of the show. Oh, yeah, so good.
I know they are.
Oh my god.
Yeah, enjoy them?
Wow.
Kids approved?
Kids approved.
And big kid approved.
Ooh. Awesome.
A bit messy on a hot day, but so worth it.
Yum, huh?
Very indulgent. Really, it's not kind of, they're not sickly, you know.
Yeah.
They're just so kind of like a little bit would go a long way, I think. But,
And a good cup of tea really goes well with them.
yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, the
I don't like
rest,
tea,
the rest
but
of
I
this
like
mine.
Ha. So what should they do if they like the video, Mark?
Well, obviously give it a thumbs up.
Oh, no.
If you want more like this, which I do, subscribe. Leave your comments down below if you tried this recipe.
And what's our motto of the channel?
Food is fuel, so be mindful about what you put in your body.
Yay!
Most of the time. Bye guys.
Awesome, thank you. Thanks to taste testers.